welcome to FDTV. We are back again with another episode of our weekly podcast. I'm your host Ali, joined once again with my fellow co-host Jawad. Jawad, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's good to be back. It's good to be talking football again. Let's get into it.
So let's move on. One of the hottest topics in the world of football, which shook the world by storm, and everyone was losing their mind on Twitter, Facebook, every form of social media. The idea of a European Super League, which we discussed before everybody in our podcast episode number 8, when Philip Lam was talking about it. So, what was your thoughts and conclusion on the whole situation? And do you think it is something that will resurface in the next few years?
It's definitely going to be resurfacing. I don't take Florentino Perez as a loser, and I don't think he is. He's never going to give up on the idea. It was a good idea. From what we were hearing, it was essentially a breakaway league. All these clubs were going to play each other all the time, and it was going to be a closed league, and they weren't going to be playing in their own domestic leagues. It was essentially going to be a combined league, almost like a Beneliga, right? So that's what I was hearing. I was against it 100%. But you had to listen to what they were saying, right? The only thing that I was against in that was that it was a closed competition. There wasn't going to be promotion and relegation. But they weren't looking for a league format. Essentially, what they were doing is they were trying to replace Champions League, right? They feel like they are the one who are the blockbuster attraction. They are the one who brings people's attention towards the Champions League. Why shouldn't they be getting paid as such? Which is an understandable argument to make, but you gotta understand, football historically has always been a working class sport. It's always been linked with the working man. And when money gets involved, a working man is not going to like it. The humble beginnings of football does not allow the rich to take it over. Football is ours. Football belongs to us. No rich man can come in and take over. That's what you need to understand, right? But if they had presented it a little bit better, they had made it so everyone was involved into the decision making, and instead of undercutting FIFA, they almost made FIFA look like the good guy here, which is next to impossible, right? So that's one of those things that you really need to understand. I feel like it was a noble idea with an absolute horrendous execution. They need to work on it a bit more. I feel like it's not going to go away. So, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with this Super League concept, the way it was presented?
The way football has been for the past 2 or 3 decades, it was certainly not a well executed idea. It was like America dropped a bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1944. You just came up with one of the worst things that the football fans have heard in the past 3 decades, and you just dropped it without warming it up. So my question to you is, what is the other way that these superpowers in European football can cope up with the financial deficiencies that they suffer due to the pandemic?
So there needs to be a solution. First, let's talk about the way this blew up. So Super League, it gets announced, and within 48 hours or so, it's all over, right? The fan backlash was so strong. Specifically, just look at the way it was at Chelsea. Their legend Pericek had to come out and actually discuss with the fans that, hey, please let us go through, right? When the manager Tuchel was asked about it, he was very political about this. And he said it's the board's decision. Whatever they will decide would be, I'm here to do a job, I'm going to do that, so on and so forth. Let's talk about Glazers. So they are already hated in Manchester. This makes them the most hated figure in Manchester, it makes me believe. So who came at the saving graces of all of this? It was the likes of Chelsea and Manchester City, the clubs that have been vilified because of the money that came with them, right? So who would have thought that it was going to be City and Chelsea that saves football as we know it? So the way it ended was dramatic in the easiest sense of the word, right? So I feel like it was a wrongly executed idea. The way to do it would have been better. First thing, you need to have promotion relegation if it's going to be a league format. But what I feel like what they were trying to propose, it was not a league format. It was more of a knockout format with a qualifying stage up front. So what you had to do was link the domestic leagues in the way Champions League is, right? But they couldn't do that as well because the difficulty is Why do you got to do that if all you're doing is replacing the Champions League when Champions League is working perfectly fine? Everyone is satisfied with it, right? So
Yes.
what I feel like the solution is that they need to work on the Champions League reform. The reform that's proposed right now, that's been agreed upon, that was announced at Champions League, expanding it a little bit further and going to the Swiss model instead of the group qualifiers. I feel like it was a plea towards the big clubs, because if you look at it, the teams that are getting added are not any other teams like from the minor leagues. They're given
Yes.
an extra spot to Ligue 1 to bring them on level terms with Premier League, with Bundesliga, with Serie A, and with La Liga. So it's going to be truly a top five league now, right? But that same spot could have gone to the likes of Ajax, right? So
Yes.
Ajax does not have a guaranteed spot. They have to play all these matches to get into the Champions League. So what I feel like needs to happen is a better structured Champions League, and the payout needs to be adjusted as such as well. If the clubs by themselves can raise funding at the levels of the way they did, why cannot UEFA do the same? Why cannot they
True.
offer the same amount of money and prize funds that were available in the Super League? So it's a
Yes.
lot of politics involved into this. Is that UEFA, which I don't feel like has been doing a good job for a long time, they need to do better. Thank you for joining us for yet again another episode of FDTV podcast. Subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment if you have any suggestions for us. We would love to hear from you. I've been your host Jawad along with my co-host Ali. Thank you for joining us one more time. FDTV out.